be is far different than what we are. And what we would be is also far different than what we are today, but what we should be even still higher than what we are today. And therefore, we should strive to be that. And I'm very confident that we'll be there where we deserve to be there very soon, not very far from now. But we must do the reality check to know where we are. And I want to tell you before we come to the future, what has India's past been? And we should be really very proud of that. In 1758, out of the world GDP, India's share was 32.9%. In first and 11th century, either worst or second biggest economy of the world. And in 1700, India's GDP was 24.4%, when Europe GDP was 23.3%. So we have not always been like this. We have tremendous capacity to convert such a great country into what we are today. You can imagine what type of a managerial ability, competence, strength we must have possessed to make this happen, which is impossible to make it. It is like when you are batting on 198 for 1 and 20 years to go and 2 runs to score and we can still lose a match. You can imagine how much competence Dhoni must be having to make it happen. You remember this famous song that we keep singing? जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती बसेरा, वो भारत देश मेरा. Can you imagine? Forget the exaggeration of सोने की चिड़िया. सोने की चिड़िया, if you are there, you will not do basera because you will not know the ability to do it. But that was really India. We were one of the richest countries in the world, and that's why we are always attacked. People wanted to come and colonize us because we had something to get out of that. Nobody wanted to colonize something which is the poorest country of the world. We would like to go and colonize. For what? You want to take the poor people, see, maybe out of fascination, some people do that. You want to say, I want to go and stay in the slum of Mumbai. So slum dwellers will say very happily, please stay here, we'll go and stay in your palace in US. But that's the fantasy. Who would like to colonize? So that's what India was. And in fact, Lord Macaulay, when he came to India, that's something which is documented, part of Chronicle. He said, I never found a beggar in India. Now, if you want to find one, come with me to any part of the country, and this will happen. But what we could be, and this is something which, in fact, my friend just now gave me even Edelweiss projection, but there are so many of them. Each one of them now agree that India is going to be one of the largest economies of the world. Third, not just with purchasing power parity, but in absolute dollar term, by then if the dollar remains what it is, you have to probably think in terms of RMB terms, probably after some time, no longer dollar or euro term, because both are going I don't know where. But in real terms, not in terms of purchasing power parity alone, would be the third largest economy of the world, could be even second largest economy of the world, just next to China. And maybe if China, we are all projecting that China is going to go only one way, there are so many imponderables which are not probably discounted for. You know, normally the market discounts the news and then the share price is realistic. But if they don't know anything, no surprises are factored into the price, probably the price is not realistic. So China, maybe there are surprises, so many of them, maybe even surprise to China themselves, are not probably factored into this. So India, in any case, is going to be the second or third largest economy. So BRICS has said this, Goldman Sachs made that report, and now everybody agrees. World Bank also now initially was a little skeptical, but now more or less everybody agrees with this perception. Interestingly, only last week, Larry Summers, very interesting speech in US. Very interesting. You know Larry Summers, of course. He was the president of Harvard University. Before that, he was a Treasury Secretary in the Clinton administration. And now, he oversees the Treasury functions from White House as part of Obama's administration. Larry Summers made a very interesting speech saying, and he was talking about what would happen, say, after 100, 200 years, 300 years, when the world history would be written, what would people be writing about this period of world history? And he has posed questions. They said, would they write about this clash of civilization? Would they write about decline of US? Would they write about how the terrorism grew? And he said, I'm not so sure. But one thing I'm 100% sure is they will write about rise of India. He said they will certainly write that India rose in a manner that is absolutely spectacular and mind-boggling. And he has given this analysis, how in pre-industrial revolution, the growth rate was probably 1/100th of 1%. It was hardly growing. And in that particular period of time, the people's income could rise maybe after several decades, not in one's lifetime. And of course, lifespan also was very short that time. But now in this case, the people's income will double or even triple or even 4-5 times in one's own lifetime. And that has happened in China. When 78, Deng started all these reforms, he could never imagine that will happen. In fact, I don't know whether you know this very interesting real story. One of the person who died, becoming a multi-millionaire, a Chinese, he left most of his fortune in name of Deng Xiaoping. So everybody thought that probably, politicians and everybody, children cannot be directly related to them, but still their children is not it's a common phenomenon, isn't it? All parts of the world. So they thought probably something must have happened, which was not known to us. Even the Chinese Communist Party could not track it. But what had actually happened was, this man had left a will saying that all my wealth I accumulated is only because of his policies. From a pauper, I became a multimillionaire thanks to the policies. And that's what Larry Summers feels is going to happen in India in the next few years' time. He feels India's middle class by 2050, 40, he says, maybe 50, will be easily a billion strong middle class, which is not unlikely for a simple reason is that by then our population will be 1.6 to 1.8 billion. That means still 600 or 800 million people will not be in the middle class. That's something which probably he has not said, but I'm just saying. But that's what even Larry Summers is thinking, and he's saying that my foreign policy, my economic policy of US has to converge with that of India's interest for my own benefit. Can you imagine the largest economy of the world, $14 trillion economy, is thinking that $1 trillion economy of India's is going to grow so fast that there is going to be a convergence between his interest and my interest, and therefore we must plan. And therefore, where we could be is something which these people are saying. And it's a reality, it's definitely possible. In 70s, China and India were the same. In 60s, Korea and India's per capita income was the same. Now Korea's per capita income has become $25,000 and ours is 1,000. So it's possible. I would say, not just possible, it's going to happen for a simple reason. Is 1978 when China started reforms, till about first 15 years of Chinese reform, Chinese economy was not growing as fast as India's economy is growing in the first 15 years of reform. So in fact, if you compare the first 15 years, not just the combined 30-35 years time span, then Chinese economy is probably not performing as well as India's economy is performing. And therefore, I am very confident that where we could be is something which all these people are saying and maybe something more. Like, for example, my friend Ajit Ranade, I am very overawed by the fact such brilliant people sitting and I am speaking something, I am sure I am inviting a lot of trouble. And most of you must be even going through your search engine to find out what I am saying is right, wrong. So I am a little overawed. But I am saying in China, Anyway, so I'm just saying that we definitely could be where we would be. I was just saying the BRICS report, first that said that India would be, of course, in the large economy, but the time span in which they will attain this $1 trillion mark, we achieved it much ahead of that. So even the BRICS, actually we have beaten the projections of BRICS anyway. So the BRIC has become strong. Some other BRICS are not grown that strong like Russia. And therefore now we talk about no longer BRIC, we are talking about basic. So R has gone. So we talk about basic. But now, if it could be, how should we make it happen? How would it happen? How would it happen from it could be to would be? And that would happen if, I'm now trying to be oversimplistic because I told you so many of the issues, but because you are a financial services company, The best way to make it happen is to use financial services. India is going to need $1 trillion investment in infrastructure in the next 5 years' time, minimum. And this projection has no meaning because Planning Commission can say $2 trillion. With $2 trillion, what is the purpose of $2 trillion? But minimum that. Every year, we need about, on a 10-year time frame, if you take 10 years, at the time frame, we need about $350 billion every year. Why? Because 10% of GDP we must put into infrastructure. If you want to put 10% and the GDP is going to rise at 8-9%, if you take 10 years time frame, the amount of money required will be $350 billion a year. If you raise this money, you would make it happen. If you can actually realize the potential of India in terms of putting a fuel into the engine, it could really happen. And therefore, you have a great role to perform from could be to would be. And India is really waiting for that opportunity because there are so many things lying on the ground. Somebody has to go and pluck those fruits. Almost in the next few years' time, our savings rate, and not savings rate actually, but savings in absolute number would easily be more than 700 billion every year in the next few years' time. Can you imagine $700 billion of incremental savings economy is going to produce? Birla Financial Services Group could get good part of that, make into a good product, and we have made it. Larry Summers will be more than right. Converting these savings into a product is a challenge. And that's where the innovation will come in. All savings does not necessarily mean that could be available to each one of me. I could be a billionaire myself because my country has $700 billion. So I can go and pick it up because I'm a citizen of India. Converting into a product is a challenge. And their financial services can play a big, big role. Already only 9.7% of GDP is the contribution of the services. But of course, the multiplier effect is maybe 1.5 to 1.7. And in fact, we are better than UK, which is actually a financial services hub of the world. And therefore, there's a great opportunity waiting to be exploited. And that would convert a reality of today, which I talked about, which I'm not proud of, and therefore Mr. Murthy is getting blamed for it in Europe. And Larry Summers sitting in US is thinking India is going to make it happen. To make that happen, you could make it happen by targeting the household. In fact, all savings in the country, or for that matter in the world, are household. Household savings then get into banks or go into the capital market through intermediation process. But actually speaking, the household incomes combined put together is what the savings are. They could be parked somewhere else, could be channelized into something else, and that's something which you can mobilize in a very significant way. And for that, if the household is the cause, you must target that individual who runs that household. Each individual has many requirements. Same person like me wants to spend and save at the same time. And that's the human nature. Depending upon time of the day, depending upon my mood. Very happy, so I would like to take my wife for a dinner. Next day, I want to borrow from my wife. So it's a human nature. So unless you actually target that individual, it's not going to come. Individual has many means, many needs. And all they are influenced by his behavior, his thinking. So if you want to convert now, just look at it, the opportunity. You want to create India as what Larry Summers is thinking. There is everything is available there, the money is there. But money is going to be influenced by the behavior. Can you understand that behavior and make it happen? And for that, you must understand that person as a whole. You can't just, because his needs are different. And in fact, every time there's an opportunity. If he spends money, financial services get benefits. He earns money, you benefit. He saves, you benefit. He invests, you benefit. Because you have such a broad spectrum of activities. So just imagine that individual you know, now he's captive to you, and now you can work on it. But thinking for that holistically is important. I'll give a very interesting real example. If you don't know the whole, you don't think holistically what happens. Nowadays, heart transplant has become very common. I don't know whether Birla Life Insurance covers it. But heart transplant is a very common phenomenon. The first ever heart transplant operation took place where the World Cup is taking place today. in South Africa, in Cape Town. The name of the doctor was Christian Barnard. He still has a big hospital there. I saw it from outside, didn't want to go in because I said, he's so used to doing heart transplant. If he catch me and says, no, you come inside now, you can't go out without that. So I didn't go in, but I saw it. Christian Barnard performed the first heart transplant on a man, and the surgery was successful. After a few days, the patient died. The operation was successful, closely monitored by so many doctors, round the clock. Whole focus was heart, because that was the transplant, and patient died. He went to the widow. He said, please allow me to do autopsy because I must know why he died. She said, thank you very much. When he was alive, you did enough experimentation with his body, and therefore my husband is not there. Now don't do any more experimentation with his dead body. But he pleaded, and she finally considered, in any case the body is dead, so what is the problem? They found out and they discovered that a patient had died because of pneumonia. Why? Everybody was focusing on heart. So pneumonia is a minor thing. What is the problem? Heart is a major thing. So if you don't focus on that individual in totality, his needs, his requirement, maybe it's a small requirement, 5,000 rupees, but you are taking care of 5 lakh requirement, but 5,000 is important because he wanted to give that money to his girlfriend. So he could not, therefore, will be with you, and that's a very important thing, is knowing this. So if you have one person on board, you can make it happen, and that's why to take everybody on board, all his needs on board, if you don't work together, how will you make it happen? Because you are into different verticals, different businesses, you have different expertise, different ideas. So bringing all of you together is a big, interesting thing. Then I talked about this big opportunity of $600, $700 billion. But there is another opportunity which is always overlooked, and that's an opportunity which even the incomes are not converted into savings. There are a large number of people in India who have so much, not so much really, but each individual in India saves money. If the poorest of the person saves money for a daughter's marriage, maybe buying ornament, because and rightly so, she thinks I'm hedging against all inflationary risk. But that person, so in India there are at least 40-50% of population which do not have yet any channelized savings into the proper system. So that's the bottom of pyramid opportunity. So I'm just saying, if you want to exploit all this, doing it together can really make it happen in a significant way. So I just told you what could be India and what would be if you do it. How can you make it happen? And I was just telling you about working together. Each of us see this example every day when we are crossing on the road. Somebody is trying to pull a huge cable weighing probably hundreds of kilos, and they do it all in one single minute with such a precision, amazing, and for that they try to pull it at that particular fraction, it just gets pulled. Because then the combined strength of each one of them is added to that particular movement, and that's how this suddenly happens. So that's the great beauty of working together. And therefore, nobody then saying that I pulled faster than you or you pulled slower than me. I think it is B who, because of this, the cable moved. Then he will say, okay, very good. If you have such a great strength, why don't you pull it now? It doesn't get pulled. So working together, make that happen. Just imagine, you all watched this football match yesterday, right? Each one of them were singing one national anthem. And in fact, I was thinking about it, and there is Economic Times, there's a story. They actually trained people to sing that national anthem together. So just imagine each one of them are thinking about the same thing at the same time, and the team then is thinking that I have to win this match, not for me.